some people, and I would say this to any young actor listening, sometimes, and because it's that whole thing, that whole of, everyone wants to be a star, TikTok, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Everyone wants it now, Instagram, and the fame and the riches and the wealth. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Stay in your lane and just take your time, one step at a time. Don't rush nothing. You'll get there. And take what you're doing very seriously. And you'll get there. You'll get there.
Fred Richani of TSC. We have right here on the line a very special and legendary guest. You may know him from the iconic Guy Ritchie film Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He's done voice acting. He's been in the game for 4 decades. We're talking to the legend himself, Vas Blackwood. Vas, thank you so much for joining us. How's everything going?
Hi, everyone out there. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this interview with you. Yeah, very excited. Thank you very much for having me.
For sure, for sure. Now, before we dive into everything you're currently doing, it's hard to believe that it's going to be the 24-year anniversary of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Insane. As I mentioned at the top of the show, my all-time favorite film other than Snatch, huge Guy Ritchie fan, your iconic character, Rory Breaker. How did it change your life, and what does it mean to you for people to still fondly remember that character all these years later?
24 years. Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think it's rare that actors get to work on movies which have, say, somewhat of an iconic effect. And when we made that movie, it did kind of, it set off a little tidal wave of British gangster style movies started to come out after that. It was a great era, and we started a little trend. But the strangest thing about doing this role is I still feel as though it's very much a part of my my journey. Things have been, it's people know me for that role, but it's a personal thing because I still feel as though, even having this interview now, I still feel as though it's definitely part of my journey. So if it's still attached to me, to play a role like that, actors, we do roles. There's roles that I did 24 years ago, and even before that, to an extent that maybe I didn't remember. I can't remember that I did that role, or I have to look on my CV to see that I did that role in that year. I can't remember the work that I did that year per se when I did Lock, Stock, but because the movie had such an iconic effect, it will stay with me for life. And there's actors that were in the movie that have journeyed on, fast forward, and done their thing. And for me, still, as I said, I'm still feel as though I've got a lot more to offer. And having a job like that on my CV keeps me. It keeps me instead. Or it keeps me in the flow with things, So it's it's 24 years ago, but to me, to an extent, it seems as though it's yesterday.
These days, I feel like if Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels come out, not only will it be a hit, but there'd be spinoffs. There'd be a Rory Breaker spinoff. Do you think if it came out today that you'd have like a Rory Breaker series on some kind of streaming service?
I'm not too sure. It's a funny one because, being an actor, it's a craft. So I think it was definitely before its time. And I think that, as we say, like a black actor, then to now, with diversity, there's so much more opportunities now with diversity. Back then, this is where I believe, it's interesting when now having this interview, how things have changed over 24 years. Mm-hmm. Even though it seemed like it was yesterday I performed that role, but as far as diversity and, issues with black actors getting roles, major roles and things of that sort of concern, when I look back, it does seem like a long time now when I look at how things are now. So I suppose, to an extent that with social media, I think Rory would have just gone, into the stratosphere to an extent. But I think I'm one of these people that in playing that role and in being here now and having this interview, I'm very much of the mind that it's like, you've got to stay in it to win it. And that's all I've ever done. I've just been an actor. I've been an actor since I started in 1980, That's a long time. So you know, so, and then there's levels, and then also the age thing as well, and how you look for your age and whatnot. I still, you know, I still can play a little bit younger than my age, and this, that, and the other. So it's just a matter of finding the place. So this is the thing that intrigues me. So it's always good to have played a role which has an iconic status. You know, I'm still very close with Guy. You know, he doesn't live too far from me, actually, you know, just a few miles down the road. So, you know, we still keep in touch and everything. So, you know, it's all good, man. It's all very organic and fluid. It's very, very good.
So back then for you, I mean, how tough was it to not only get consistent work, but really kind of get those kind of breakthrough roles as a black man during that time in the UK?
Yeah, you know, again, it's like one of those things where being really good in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, to an extent, maybe then wasn't necessarily, it worked against me, you know, because that's a funny thing to say. But then in being here now and looking back on that role, it's actually helped me because, you know, it's still a very strong calling card. And things have changed quite a lot. I mean, there are a lot of actors I know still now in the UK, black actors, that will go to the US because, not just because of them being, you know, them getting more work, there's more work. There's actually a lot more on offer, you know, and you can get thrown into it. It's like you get thrown into a bigger pool, as it were, and you can strike and hit at more objects, as it were, as far as castings are concerned. But I mean, I've been to the States, LA, a few times for castings and things of that sort, and, you know, and I'll still be going to LA, still be coming out there very soon to be doing the same type of thing. But I think with the internet now and self-taping and everything and the way agencies work, you know, I can be just where I am right here now and still go up for some really strong roles that are being cast for America. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I've got no false illusions, you know, being in the business for the length of time that I've been in, and I'm very much with it. So, but I'm an artist, and I love the craft, and I like being challenged. So, you know, and I think when you carry that form of an energy from within, at some point in time, you know, they say careful what you dream for, because you will get, you know, what you want, and you will get the opportunity to shine or to test your levels. And I'm definitely into levels as an actor. It's just a matter of, you know, because it's all about a learning experience as well. So, you know, there's things that I never knew 24 years ago that I do know now that can help me in my performances. So, you know, I'm very excited to be alive and to try and, you know, like to have the likes of Lock, Stock and that longevity of still being in the entertainment industry behind me.
I mean, this is totally as a compliment. You look fantastic for your age, man. What's your secret?
Cocoa. No. Aloe vera cream, aloe vera gel. It's very good for the skin.
Okay, cool. I dig that. And as far as with the pandemic and everything, obviously you're still doing work. You have a couple projects in post production right now.
Yeah.
Initially, I know the pandemic really screwed things up for a lot of people for obvious reasons, in particular actors and stage performers. I've talked to a lot of actors recently who have said it's actually made things kind of easier as far as like the audition process, because everything's now remote. So for you, do you feel like where we're at in the pandemic, is your life harder or easier as an actor when it comes to getting these roles?
No, you know, that's a very good point. And whomever said that to you, we're really talking, that's real. You know, the fact that things are, whereas they're now remote. You know, the strangest thing, I'm doing self-tapes now, right? And because of when I was being, you know, I've had my jabs, but just before, around about that period, like say a few months ago, you know, and there were some self-tapes coming up because the sort of like borders are opening up now, so there's a lot more going on, and my industry, you know, was desperate to get back to it. So yeah, I was going up for self-tapes, but there was a couple of stuff that was, some bits had come through to the agency, and they were saying, you know, I find my agent, I saying, you know, I was questioning something because my children are at another house and with their mum, and even though we come up, but we were self-isolating. We were all having our little bubbles and this, that, and the other. So here I was at my property, and I said to my agent, you know, I'm going to have a problem. How am I going to do this? And he said, well, look, we talked about this, talked about that. And he said, well, why don't you just do it on your own? so I said to myself, I thought that's a good idea. I thought, no, that's a good idea, right? Okay. I didn't dismiss it. He said, yeah, a few others are doing that. I said, really? He said, yeah, a few actors are doing that. Just do it on your own. Because my agent's real kind of, he's like Harry Maguire agent, like Tom Cruise. Like that. He just hustle. So, and I love his attitude, Luke. And yeah, do you know what's happened? I've just been doing them, no one's reading it back. I've got a remote in my hand, boom, press that, and I just run the lines. I leave a little beat and a pause. They know, the casting know what because and then it's another method actually, because it's like it's an art form, because they want to hear my lines, right? Mm-hmm. So, and usually is the case, you're going to get someone in to read it, a friend or a friend of a friend or your partner, and sometimes the way they're reading it, they've got to go to work or they've got to do something, or I really should be. Oh, I'm not too good. Then do you know that you're not supposed to be here? And I'm like trying to be like, oh yeah, I know I'm supposed to be here. I know. Okay, well, can you leave? Oh, I'm gonna leave. And it's kind of like the energy thing that when someone's reading off, it's not ever that good. But when you're doing it the way I'm doing it, it's good. It's good. I've just learned that during the pilot, and I mean, I think maybe some casting people might think this guy's completely crazy. No one's reading the lines off. Or some might just think, what, that's not too bad. And I've had some, and I've won roles from doing it. So who knows?
When, as a kid, did you realize, what, I kind of want to try the showbiz thing? I
did a little bit of drama at school. Just as we do drama at school, plays, nothing crazy. And then I wanted to, I got into a kind of a catering, I was going to be a chef university in Westminster Catering University. And I got in and I went. And then within the space of a term, I just decided I wanted to go for the acting. I didn't really want to, something just changed my mind. I just felt as though I didn't really want to do this, but up to this day now, I love cooking, so I love it in the kitchen and cooking things of that sort. So, but yeah, I just changed my mind. And then I went to a drama school called ALRA, the Academy of Live and Recorded Arts, but I didn't stay there very long. And I started to go to a pub theatre in Islington, which is in London, near the West End in central part of London, a very famous place called the Old Red Lion. And they, a lot of actors have been through that place. It's a bar, and then they've got a theatre upstairs and everything, and it's very well known. And I started to hang out there with some of my friends from school. I was like 16, 17, 18. And I got in with I met a few directors, and there was one director in particular who was workshopping a theatre play. He was looking for actors to workshop, and there was a gentleman who was writing a play for this theatre company. So it was a 10-week workshop course, and I kind of went on the workshops, and I was holding my own on the workshops. And then the play came in, and there was obviously a role there in the play that I could play it, and they knew what I was doing in the workshop. So I got offered the role, and it was through that play, which toured all over Europe and went everywhere, that I got my union acting card. And it just started there for me. So it was a natural progression of theatre, Shakespeare, all those type of things, fringe theatre, touring theatre, repertory theatre. And then when you do these plays, you get producers, directors, actors, well-known actors. They come and watch the play with their friends or on their own or with their partners, whatever the case may be. They meet you after. And then next thing you know, your agent gets a call that, they want to see you for a role in TV. But it was like a producer that might come to see the play. So I've basically gone through the old school of theatre, TV, then movies. When I was doing TV, I was doing a TV comedy show and TV series with Sir Lenny Henry, and Guy Ritchie used to come home from college, and he used to watch this particular show, and he said he loved my dulcet tones. He liked that character, and it's through watching that character on a TV show that he casted me for the role. Rory Breaker. So you can see the progression, and then you start doing films here, there, and everywhere, and then you get caught up in that world, and things might slow down a little bit. Then you might get a TV role. You work with that, and I haven't gone back to theatre in a long while, but it's something that I first started doing theatre. So yeah, it's just a normal, natural progression, and then also in between that voiceovers, because I do a lot of voiceovers.
It's kind of like an athlete, right? And a great athlete gets to a point where they realize they're not the same as the other kids, right? Like they're really good at this thing. They're on kind of another level. They can make a full-time living doing this. When did you get to that point where you were comfortable and said, you know what, acting, whether it be on stage or behind the camera, I can definitely do this full-time and make it my whole career?
I'm not too sure. If you ask my mom now, she'd say never. She still doesn't. I don't. People say to my mom, they say, some of her friends, they'll say, "Oh, I saw your son in this, and I saw you," and it's like she'll phone me and say, "Oh, one of my friends." She kind of she'll be like, "Oh, really?" to her friends, but then when it's just me and her, it's like, do I get that feeling? Well, it's like a little bit like, when are you going to get a normal job?
When are you going to become a chef?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh,
that is the one she could hit me with. Well, why didn't you just stick with that? But deep down, no. Deep down, yeah, no. She really does enjoy what I do, and yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's kind of like it is what it is. Just I mean, that's funny because again, the industry 24 years ago to now, and when I started to now, it's like, it's a great industry. It's now, I mean, because I look around and I see, what job is secure?
Mm-hmm.
When I first started acting, it used to be very much like, careers advice officers and people that just meant well, oh, you want to be an actor? Some would say, go for it, great. Others would be saying, it's not really a secure profession. But there's just so many platforms now. And after COVID, so many people want entertainment. It's just like, it's great. It's a good, I mean, it's a little bit contractually. I think things have changed in the sense that, there's the industry, probably the business aspect of the industry. I mean, it's slightly more run by suits.
Mm-hmm.
And dramatic license, artistic license, for instance, when it comes to casting and things of that sort. There are some production companies that tend to buy into certain, I don't know, there's like modi operandi when it comes to casting and how they do it. If mm-hmm. someone's got a certain amount of followings on Twitter or on Instagram or this, that, but then I always say the cream will rise to the top. So, if that's the way, some people want to cast, fair enough. But, you can always tell when you watch the production that, oh, he's a YouTuber, or she's that, he's this guy. You know what I mean? I mean, I think the old school always prevails in my industry, but there's just so much out there now. And it's good. It really is good because it gives a lot of people opportunities. And, if I think of when I started as an actor, I had the right energy for it, and I had the right love for it. And that same energy and same love that I had then, I still have now. So, yeah, I mean, it's exciting times to be an actor. Really is.
For sure.
And I look forward to working with, some of the up and coming actors. Mm-hmm. That's always the good thing, because that again is organic. Because I mean, and everywhere I go, I mean, I'll never stop doing this, because I can finish this interview. I go to the shop, and and I might, outside the store, there might be an old black guy there, who's kind of just like a real character, and I'm looking at what he's doing because I like to observe things, and I think, do you know what? I could play him in a film. That guy there, things like that. There's just so it's I deal with creativity and get paid for it. So. And as I said, after COVID, a lot of people, they respect the whole genre, my industry, to be able to sit home or to watch different films and to get into it. My industry, I think my industry, even though we were quiet as far as productions are concerned, we basically, we we won the souls of millions and millions of people around the world because they needed us. They needed us as we were their best friend. What I do for a living, the guys, people on TV, whether it was even if it was the news presenters. So it was wonderful. Yeah.
It would make sense for you one day to possibly write a book. Have you thought about that?
Well, I write scripts. So at the moment, presently, I'm developing. There's 2 projects that I'm working on, and that's kind of enough writing for me presently, And I would like to write a book, but I want to get my scripts because, for instance, both of them are TV, kind of dramas,
Yeah.
So like box sets, like I think the one of them is like a criminal drama, and the other one's a supernatural drama. But the criminal drama is it's like I'm looking at maybe say 10 eps the first season, and just because we're pushing, there's been some interest, but we're still pushing. To keep myself in the groove, I'm just writing them. So that's like kind of writing a book. And there's a lot of fluidity and it's moving, it's nice. So I'm just working at that. But yeah, I would like to write a book, I suppose. But I think scripts, I really am into writing scripts. And I'm not trying to, as we say in London, blow my own trumpet, as we were. But I've got a gift, I think, with writing scripts. Yeah. So I really do want to continue to pursue it because it's something that I like doing.
Are you a teacher at all? Have you taught at all? Because I feel like you'd be a great mentor to a lot of young actors.
Yeah, I'm not. I do a lot of empowerment speeches at schools, universities, and youth centres. So we have, like, for instance, I do work with the police as well. There's like there's a thing called Off the Hook, where youngsters between the age of 13, say 11, 13 at high school, and 18, 19, they find themselves like somewhat disassociated with their education and on a day-to-day basis. So the police, how it starts is that, the police might get arrested by the police one day during the week when they should have been at school. And the police will, depending on what happened, the police will probably they'll try to get them back into the school with the school and then assess the report. And then maybe if they get caught again, they've been doing the program rather than send them to juvenile delinquents. We have juvenile centres where rather than send them to a detention centre, as it were, they basically set them up on a boxing program, like it's a 10-week course. And if they stay in the course and they get their certificate at the end, it keeps them from going to, say, a juvenile centre for juvenile delinquents, as it were. So I've been involved in that, and every 10 weeks I will go and do the initial opening for the beginning of the new termers, as it were, the new 10-weekers, and then go in at the end and see how they've gone and give out their certificates. I do that, yeah. But I'm a Freemason. I was a Freemason. I've been a Freemason now for 23 years. So we try to, as Masons, it's just basically say good men trying to make themselves better men, and we try and do as much as possible for others.
In addition to the great body of work you already have, the scripts you're currently working on, you've got a couple things that are coming out soon. Can you talk a little bit about some of the productions that we could look out for?
Yeah, there's a few things because nowadays there's a lot of non-disclosure, so that we have to sign. But
what are you allowed to talk about?
Just finished voicing a movie, actually, my first animation movie, and I can't really say the name, but it's got a really good cast. I was nearly going to say one of the actors' names, but it's kind of like and if some of the producers have worked with Pixar. So it's on a fair level, good level. So I'm just finishing that at the moment, really, and then I start a film next week, which is it's like a Frankenstein movie, but it's a little bit more a bit left side of Frankenstein. It's kind of the characters. He's not Frankenstein, but he's like within a contemporary sense. So I start work on that next week. So there's a few little things coming up, you know. But yeah, as I say, it's difficult for me to actually say the names and everything, but there are a few little things coming up. And, you know, I look forward to, I want to do a lot more in America, but it's just a matter of time, really. And I know that it's about to come and it's about to happen. I've got good representation in the UK, and I just think it's just a matter of getting the right role. So, and you know, there's just so much happening worldwide. And in America, you know, I've got to take my hat off to you guys, because America really, you know, they give actors worldwide some amazing opportunities, you know, people in my industry. So I know it's just a matter of time, and I know they respect the work that you put in, and they look at CVs and they see if you've got a good body of work, are you credible to undertake a certain role, you know? And that does play a big part in how they cast them. And also as well, they love new talent as well. And they'll say, you know, we don't want someone with so much talent, you know, we want someone who's new and fresh, but has got it. And we're going to introduce them to the industry, introduce them to the world. So it works all different ways with America. So I'm looking forward to doing more work in America. And I believe that's just a matter of time. It's funny because my children, or two of them at least, I have three children. My oldest daughter is a film director, film editor, and she's now living in Jamaica. But and she's doing very well for herself, actually. But my other two children, my son is 14, 15 in January, and his sister is she's 19 this month, next month, sorry. And you know, I believe that I've taken care of that to an extent, you know, and I've been around for that, which is very important. So it's like, you know, you get a little, there's a moment in time when you can say to yourself, do you know what, maybe I could go to America or do a job in America for 6 months and not worry too much about, you know, how my son's getting on or how my daughter's getting on, things of that sort. So usually things tend to happen for the right reason. So, you know, listen, some people, and I would say this to any young actor listening, sometimes, and because it's that whole of, you know, everyone wants to be a star, TikTok, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. Everyone wants it now, Instagram, you know, and the fame and the riches and the wealth. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Stay in your lane and just take your time, one step at a time. Don't rush nothing. You'll get there. And take what you're doing very seriously. And you'll get there. You'll get there. I'm proof of that.
Yeah. Great advice too. And I think too, sometimes people look at just, you know, the get rich quick or get famous quick thing and everything else, but you've had a career to span like 4 decades. I mean, I think most actors would trade that over being in one big film and then never being known at all after that.
That's right, because that's a big fear. That's a big fear, you know, because it's like the industry can eat you up like that. And then I wonder sometimes, I do wonder, because I used to look back and think to myself, oh, you know, certain things that I might have wanted to get myself involved in, but I couldn't get myself involved in back then. But there's always a reason for everything. And you can't ever, in my business, you just have to go with the flow. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I mean, when Frankie called me and was saying what he was saying to me, it was like a wake-up call. Because in setting up the website, and this, you know, and I'm going to engage with the website, you know, as people do. But you know, sometimes, you know, actors, we're not really taught to have a creative mind and a business mind as such. We should just be creatives. But a lot more actors now are, you know, they do so much more because you get so much more if you do so much more, but one shouldn't spread themselves thin. I think when you can do so much more when you've got a certain amount of experience behind you. But if you're a young actor coming up, to an extent, you've got to try and focus a little bit on what you're doing. But as I say to even my son, because he likes to act as well, I say to him, well, you know, you should try and learn as well about script writing, about how the camera works and things of that sort, because, you know, you establish yourself, you set up a company and you work with your friends and develop stuff and pitch it and present it. Because if you start doing that at the age of 17, 18, 19 and bringing stuff forward, at some point you'll definitely get yourself in the right position and contention, and the industry, especially with the platforms like Netflix and Prime and Amazon, I'm sorry, they are constantly looking for the next best thing. The content, they're looking for content. So if you can get into creating content, that you're kind of half the way there. And you also have to understand as well, when you get into creating content, you understand it's a process. So right. when as an actor, mere actor, when you get the call from your agent, they say, it's a self-tape. Sometimes you're thinking, oh man, they know my work. Why they're self-taping me, blah, blah, blah. But hold on, you don't know that like a year ago or a year and a half ago, this guy was sitting in front of a laptop, his Mac, and he was typing away on Final Draft. And he eventually got the script through the door. And then he had to go through 5 different changes, and then a year later, it got to a production company who didn't want it at first, and all of this and all of that. The fight. So when they say, go for it, do the self-tape, go for it, be happy, get involved, because it's all part of the engine. So 3 years ago, 3 years up to now, you've now got this thing. Try your best. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But appreciate the process, because in my industry, it's all about holding hands. We hold hands right from that person who's, right from the guy that picks you up in the morning to take you to the set or whatever the case may be. So, I've got a lot of faith in my industry, and that comes with experience. So when I say I know I'll be doing more work in America, it's not like a dream or I'm gambling, it's just, it will be what will be. And when I come forward, I'll come forward and I will deliver, because that's what they expect. So it's the industry is amazing at the moment. It really is. It's really standing up on its own. And that's great. When I look back from when I started, it was always like that, but it's more pronounced now, especially with social media and all these different platforms and the internet. It's wonderful.
Before I let you go, we always like to ask all our guests some kind of rapid fire random questions just for folks to get to know them better. Are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
What's your favorite late night snack or cheat meal?
French cheese.
French cheese. Okay. That's an interesting one. All right. Do you like to have it with anything, or just straight up cheese?
No, with crackers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Besides yourself, who's your all-time favorite actor?
Robert De Niro.
Same.
I'd have to say, Al Pacino is very close to it. I do like Sean Penn as well. I've been a great fan of Sean Penn.
All great choices. When I was studying film in college, De Niro and Pacino, I binged their classics. Just incredible. Is there one film from those guys that sticks out to you that you could just watch like 100 times?
Funnily enough, I think The Heat. I think he's very good in The Heat. Robert De Niro in The Heat, and Raging Bull.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's just very good actor, man. He's really good. He's really good actor. I look up to those guys because, again, they've been in it for such a long while. And I must say, I'm gonna have to say this, because I'm just gonna have to say this. Denzel Washington. I'm a huge fan of Denzel Washington. I just got to tell you that, man. He's just very good. He's a good man, and just like his style, he's got minerals. He really is, But
the range. The range is incredible. I mean, he's played some of the most iconic characters and everything, from Malcolm X to Frank Lucas. I mean, he's just Training Day, unbelievable.
Yeah, and he gets better as well. He kind of just, that's, again, my business is a lot to do with the experience. You bring your life experiences into your performances.
Yeah. His son, John David Washington's a hell of an actor too. He did really well at Black Klansman and Ballers.
His son's very good as well. Very, very good. He's very good, but he's young. He's young. So obviously, we're going to be seeing a lot more of him. But I mean, if Denzel, oh God, you know what? And I have to say this. I know you did say one, but I've just remembered him, and I have to say Clint Eastwood.
Oh yeah, classic.
Actor director Clint Eastwood, and writer.
He's still putting out movies. He just put out a movie on HBO Max. The guy's still hustling these days.
Yeah. He I've seen him in some good of late. I've just seen him in some cool films, and it just, again, he's an old boy, but he's playing. There's guys like that age, characters on the street, and he's playing them. So it just gives you, as an actor who's been in the hustle a little while myself, and I look at that and I just think there's just so much to give. You never give up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of maybe younger film goers don't realize too that Clint Eastwood, he's a famous American actor, but he made a lot of his movies overseas as well, and a lot of his money overseas too.
Yeah, that's right. Spaghetti westerns. Yeah. They were shot in Tenerife in Spain. I actually went when I used to go on holidays. My parents to Spain, Tenerife. Went to Tenerife, and one of the tours we drove through this region, and the tour guide was saying this is where most of the spaghetti westerns were shot. And you could look, you looked at it was kind of like desert, kind of with the tumbleweed going about. You could imagine it all being shot there. Yeah. It's supposed to be Mexico,
Yeah. Hey, film magic, right?
Yeah, film magic, my brother.
What's your most awkward moment as an actor? If we're at a party and I'm like, hey man, what's something funny that maybe happened to you on set or on the red carpet, what would you tell me?
It was filming Mean Machine, right, with Vinnie Jones, and it was Vinnie's film, The Longest Yard. It's taken from the Burt Reynolds film, but it was the English version. It was set in a police prison, and we were the cons playing the wardens, football, soccer though. And I remember, and Jason Statham was in it. Jace was in it from lots of Jason, big Jason, right? So, and we all went out because he was filming in America, and then he came over to do this for Vinny, and it was like we hadn't seen him in a while, so we were hanging out with him one evening, and we had filming the next day, and he had to play the Scottish accent. So he and I were talking all night about the accent and laughing, and then we were drinking, having a good time. And then where we were, there's this place, and it's kind of like it was summer we were filming. So the evenings are long, and it gets early. It gets light early. So we were talking, and next thing I know, I felt water being flicked on me, and he was going like that, and I was going, but we kept on talking. And what is this place where we're filming in Oxford, and this where we're filming was in Oxford, the location, but this sort of it was like a bohemian restaurant bar where we were. The woman who owns it, she's an eccentric, and when it gets very late and she wants everyone to go, she walks around with a big jug of water and she flicks it on people, flicks it, because everyone's engrossed and having a good time. And she just flicks water, and you think it's raining. So we had to go, and I looked at my watch, and the driver was out there. I looked at my watch. It was like we had to start work at 6, and it was very close to 6. So I said to Jason, you don't worry about your accent. Your accent's fine. You're going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. And that morning, I had to be beaten, right? Because there's a scene where I get beaten, right, with a stick by one of the wardens. He just beats me, and I recall them padding me up, right, and they knew obviously that we had just got back. We and they put me down on the floor in the cell where the guards come in and beat me. And I remember I fell asleep, right? I fell asleep, but he started to beat me, and I was sleeping, right? And the stick that he was using to beat me, it was a special, stunt stick. It's got rubber, but there's like a wire. There's a wire holding this together. But he beat me so bad that the stick broke. The rubber stick. It's kind of like one of those things. But they knew I was sleeping. I just was dead to the world. And but the funny thing was Jason, because Jason had to do this Scottish accent. Jason, he's a legend, man. I tell you. But there are little things like that. He pulled it off, though. But do you know what happens? You just get amongst good company, good people, and you get talking and eating, and next thing you know, it's like very close to 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not the first actor to have done that, but hey, it's one of those things.
That's amazing. And I feel like, too, you mentioned that. It reminds me of a story I had, and granted, not with Jason Statham, but I feel like all these makeup artists, like, they know if you had a wild night. I remember one time, I had to do, like, a college, like, news broadcast, and, like, I had stayed up all night, like, partying, having a good time. I was, like, 21 years old, and they're doing the makeup, and, like, the editor walks in, he goes, Where were you last night? Like they just know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, they knew. But the thing is, it was one of those, yeah, you know what it is. It's like kind of, we hadn't seen him in a long while, and he was on the set. So we were just, and we couldn't talk on the set. So that evening, it was like, let's go out. We went to this place. It's a lovely place. And it just started in the conversation. And it was just, next thing you know, you're getting water flicked all over you. Just one of those things, really. But it was all good, It wasn't anything that we couldn't handle. But I do recall being beaten, and I was sleeping before I started to be beaten, And then that was good. But those things, those type of things, they don't really happen anymore now. It's kind of funny because it's like, to maximize and get the most out of your performance, you have to, before you even get to the set, or before you even engage in doing the work, there's a development, and you really have to try and stick by that, So, and this is something that you learn as well, but sometimes, they're all learning curves. So there's things that you would do then that you just necessarily wouldn't do now. But that's just life. But I have no regrets.
In addition to all the incredible gems you've dropped before, what's the best piece of advice you give anybody for success?
The best piece of advice I think I could give to anybody for success is never, ever give up. Don't ever give up. And seek counsel with others like-minded within your industry. Always seek counsel, not advice, counsel. That means you go to someone that's got that experience. They're there, they've done it. And just seek that and listen to it. Absorb, and never, ever give up. I think that's the best one I can say. Never give up. Never give up. And, just be true to yourself and just keep putting out those prayers to the universe and never give up, and you'll get there. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're not the best. Mm-hmm. Just never give up, and always be polite. Just manners. Manners will get you a long way in this world. And you never stop learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they say, as a saying, they say, "Audi verdi taste. Listen, observe, be silent."
Sir, thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure learning about your journey, learning about your career, learning about everything you got going on. And once again, where can fans find you online?
www.vastaman.com. So that's VASTAMAN.com. Vastaman.com. That's my website. Check me out. Say hello to me. I'll respond to you, and keep watching my journey.
He's also on Twitter as well. So if you want some cool combat sports takes, check him out.
Yeah, Vas Blackwood. Yeah, that's right. That's me. But awesome. Listen, thank you very much for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to seeing the show. Just thank you very much. I really do appreciate it, Fred.